All right, it says we're live. Hello, guys. Hello, guys. Welcome back to the channel with your host that does absolute most. Evan Youngblood Williams here. We are back with part two of the Red Pill Occult Movement series. So, what do you want to say, Rosie, before we get started?
Hello, hello, hello. I'm happy to be back and happy and excited to jump right in.
All right, guys. So, what we're going to talk about today specifically is over the sexual strategies slash pickup strategies that are commonly taught in the red pill community. So, the first point that I want to talk about is how they teach you how to sleep with different women at once. So, the list that I have compiled here for that point is number one, get tipsy with her. Sounds very suspicious. Two, you plan a trip. Three, you say what she wants to hear. Four, you don't look desperate. Five, you give her an ultimatum, which is very manipulative, I might add.
Actually, all of them are manipulative.
Yeah. And then call her to get you to help you calm your nerves. And I'm pretty sure you guys can pick up on what I mean by that, if you know what I mean. So, what do you have to say about the following points, Rosie?
Well, it reminds me of a movie I watched just last night about this comedian chick. I forget the name of it, but this guy basically, manipulated her all the way through into having a relationship with him and all that because he felt like he was nothing inside. He didn't feel like he was good enough for anybody else. And he kept trying to score somebody who was famous, and he did by being manipulative and using some of the same tricks that you're talking about right now, that we're discussing right now. So yeah.
Yeah, like that's that's unfortunate that guys feel like they had to do all of this just to get a woman's affection. Point number two that I want to talk about is they always teach you how to respond to a woman's quote unquote shit test, which
What
basically
kind?
means,
You said there was 5 points, right?
yeah,
And the
I'm
first
on.
point was what?
It was how to sleep with different women at once, like teaching strategies
Okay,
on.
well, are you going to talk on that first before we go to part two?
Yeah, I was discussing
Okay.
like the following points, like the common tactics that they use. Um, and it's just like I even see this amongst my peers in my day-to-day life, from time to time, where they will always talk about, man, you know, I done I done pulled this girl, I done pulled that girl, and they're just basically bragging about like, man, I done had I done had sex this much and I done got this much and got that much. And they would tell me these stories and I would just be like, what a sad way to live, honestly. Like that you have to feel like you feel like your manhood is determined by how many women you sleep with, which, like I said, is commonly taught in the red pill community, and they're still teaching that same rhetoric to this day.
Well, it's more like not how many women you sleep with. It's more like women being a conquest for you, and the more that you take advantage of, the better you feel about yourself. But really, you don't feel no better about yourself. The thing about it is you're craving intimacy and you're not going about it the right way. And these men who do this um, are conditioned to do this by society. They're conditioned to go out there. They always tell men, they don't tell women this, but they tell men, oh, go out there and sow your wild oats and do this and do that. And, you have to sample a bunch of women before you find the right one. And, I don't think that's healthy to tell somebody because you're basically going out there and stringing along a bunch of women and not giving them anything in return. You're not giving them no sense of security of where the relationship is going, and you're basically out there damaging women. And so, to the point where if they do meet the right guy, they're not going to be able to sustain that relationship or be in it because of all the toxicity that they've already been experiencing from guys who are just trying to hook up,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and so before I move on to point number two, I just want to say one last thing about this point because we are on a time crunch here. Is that like if you find if you as a guy find your guy friends doing this, just do what you can to call them out on this. Like, hey, look, bro, like this ain't the right way to live. This is not the way to live life because you know the more we hold ourselves accountable as men, the more we'll be able to heal and actually operate. And because there's like a lack of male leadership in the home, which is another contributing factor to this movement,
Yeah,
it it really pays for us to start being the type of leaders that we wish we had growing up. Because many of us grew
exactly.
up.
Start being the change you want to see. If
Hmm.
you see a boy without a father, try to be his mentor and help guide him down a different path.
Yep. And another part of the pickup strategy that the red pill community seems to teach is how to respond to a woman's shit test, which is basically, how they say it's a social device to determine your worthiness. And the thing about it is about like
Yeah,
these,
and don't
so
they get them to do trivial tasks like that they meet the girl for the first time and they're like, "Can you go get me a soda or a drink or this or that or some food?" Like, what are we
yeah,
in the 1800s, dude? Do I look like your maid? I
yeah,
mean, I'm just speaking facts. I mean, there's nothing wrong with your hands or your legs. I'm pretty sure your wallet ain't busted either. So, I mean, women really thinking about that, who has any self-respect for themselves and everything else, would tell them to go to hell because
yeah, and like,
men don't be doing that for women the first time they meet them. So why should women do that? I mean, seriously, it's got to be so mutual.
yeah,
But
and it's
anyway,
it's
go ahead with your points. I'm sorry, I just had to jump in there. I apologize.
yeah, and like expanding what she said, men see women as conquest or like kind of like a country to conquer. It's like, oh, women are gonna constantly test you by undermining your leadership and saying undermined things and targeting your insecurities on purpose. See, first and foremost, not all, I would say that not all women do that,
Look,
especially like,
it's like there's toxic men as well as toxic women. I
yeah,
mean, you just have to look for the signs of each. But you can't judge everybody by just a couple's bad behavior. But anyway, continue.
and here's a trick to remember, guys. Like, even if a woman happens to give you quote unquote shit test, if you're already confident and secure in yourself, it wouldn't even phase you. You would just be like, okay, I
Well,
see that she's not healthy for me. Or if you're a woman, you see that he's not healthy for you, and you just move on. See, you don't have to play stupid games. That's the thing. You don't have to play the game. You can unplug from the game anytime you want. You don't have to continue to see every woman as an obstacle that you need to conquer. Because honestly, that's going to ruin your dating life and your perception of life as a whole because you feel like you constantly need to prove your worth. That's where that comes from. It's feeling like you got to prove your worth to a woman in order to feel like you're a man and you're doing something of significance.
yeah, I agree. That's and women some women do the same thing, but here's the thing. They get stuck just like me and him talked about when we got together because he's the masculine and I'm the feminine. Um, so like sometimes they're imbalanced. Like sometimes women act more like men and men act more like women. But whenever you come in balance with the right person, you balance each other out. So then you can start, being more like a woman and not and less like a man, and give the man that role, and vice versa. So I mean, these things do happen, and yeah, you do come in contact with some women that are like that, but it's because their energy is imbalanced within them because every person that's born has masculine and feminine qualities. It's just sometimes we lean into one side more than the other instead of becoming balanced between the two.
Yeah, exactly. Like until you achieve that state of inner balance and inner union, you'll continue to keep playing stupid games and keep on feeling like you got to resort to these pickup strategies in order to build a sustainable relationship. Um, the third point that I want to discuss, um, did they teach you how to practice negging, which I just learned as a new term yesterday, which is a game tactic involving a backhanded compliment calculated to undermine confidence and make a woman more vulnerable to your advances. And
Mhm.
so, in other words, what that means is that you know you may say something slick about like the way her hair looks, or if you really are a douchebag, you start commenting about her weight and saying little things like that to try to get her to become more vulnerable and look for validation from you as a man. And if you're doing this as a man, I would say stop it right now and really look within to see why you're saying these malicious things to other women to try to, get them to hook up with you, and you just moving on from the next one to the next one to the next one, because honestly it's a sickness inside of your mind.
Yeah, and it's a sickness in society. These types of men doing these things to women because it's like I said, it's toxic and it's dysfunctional and it's coming from a place of hate and envy and emptiness, and these men need to address those things within themselves and not try to project that onto to the women that they're hooking up with or talking to or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Because you need to really know where something is going before you jump into it. And okay, and like I said, if it's a mutual thing, like you're both hooking up because you both just want to hook up, you just want sex. Okay, fine, do what you do, man. Ain't nobody gonna be mad at you. But these people are not doing it for that. They're manipulating these women into feeling like they're obligated to do things with them. It's not a choice. They're taking the choice away from the women by manipulating them and using toxic tactics to get what they want.
Yeah. And honestly, like it just goes ties back into the first point that we just discussed earlier about like, you know, what was it saying? Like, you know, it's similar to say what they want to hear, but you're using the exact opposite, which is telling them what they don't want to hear. You're using the opposite of, exploiting their insecurities right in front of them in order to make them, your slave or your plaything. And that's just simply not a way to build anything sustainable long term, because you know you're gonna come across the right woman that is fully healed, that's in her feminine energy, or more specifically, her goddess energy, and she's gonna put you in your place and shut you down real quick.
Yeah,
Rosie can tell you all about it.
yeah. I don't put up with that type of stuff off of men. Not even a little bit, and I can see them coming from 100 miles away. And I'll tell them very quick, look, I don't know what your intentions are here, but this is where I'm at in my life, and this is what I'm willing to deal with and what I'm not. So let's get these things straight right away. And every woman needs to be that way. You need to let somebody know what your intentions are, what your expectations are from the get go. Okay, maybe not on the first date, but at least by the second or third date, you need to set those boundaries right up front and let them know where you're coming from, so they won't be surprised, later or whatever, when you've done let them get away with a bunch of shit. I mean, some of the responsibility is on women too, because women allow these things to happen to them. They let men take advantage of them and stuff like that by telling them what they want to hear. And I don't want a man to tell me what I want to hear. I want a man to be honest with me and be equal with me. And, it's a matter of self respect and self love. And, that's at least where my mind is on it. A lot of women would do better to foster more of that in their life and not let so many men take advantage of them.
Yep, I totally rock with you on that. Like, you hit the
And
nail
I'm
right
not
on the
blaming.
coffin.
I want to also say I'm not blaming women for men's bad behavior, and I'm not blaming men for women's bad behavior. But responsibility has to start being taken on both sides. It has to be that you have to start taking, stock and seeing what was your fault and what wasn't. You know what I mean? And really survey that shit and ask yourself the right questions, like what could I have done better in this situation? How could I have acted differently? How could I have handled that situation? How could I have responded in a different way? How could I have, you know, it's just a bunch of personal questions that you ask yourself. And like me as a coach, that's what I do. Like when anything goes bad, I'm like, well, what could I have done better? How could have that how could that have went better? Or, what is it within that person that needed to be healed that I could have helped them with? You know, or what made them the way they are? What made me the way I am? What did I contribute in the relationship for it to end? What happened? Find the solve, find the fix. Don't focus so much on what went wrong, and focus more on what you can change and better within yourself and the relationship.
Yeah, exactly. We're almost at the 19-minute mark. So I'm just gonna say this one last thing before I go ahead and close this out, is to just, overall, just take extreme ownership of your dating life and your life in general, because there's nothing more attractive to either sex than a person taking full ownership, or as I forgot the author's name of that book, Extreme Ownership. I'm sure it'll come to me later on. Is to take extreme ownership of all aspects of your life, because that's the only way you're truly going to change and to truly elevate and become a better person along your path.
I agree. I agree 100%.
Is there anything else you want to say before we close it out, Rosie?
I just want to say make sure you tune in for all the one we did last night. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. Watch this one, and we're gonna dig into this a little bit more. So, you know, There's more coming. Put it that way. This is part two. So just make sure y'all tune into all of those because they're coming soon. And don't forget to go subscribe to all my um social medias accounts and stuff. My Instagram, which Evan will link for y'all. My Instagram, my Facebook, my YouTube channel, and my TikTok, which I haven't put anything on there yet, but I plan that's coming soon.
All right, guys.
Bye.
So, all right, guys. Peace in and out, and I'll see you guys on part 3 later on today.